types. You always have to work with date time together in a single variable. So to open this up and give us some more room, there are two primary functions to work with date time. The first one is date name, and the other one is date part. Both date name and date part accept two parameters, the first parameter being what portion of the date you want to extract, and the second parameter being the date you want to extract that portion from. So the portions, to see the list of that, I'm going to go ahead and select date name and do Shift F1 to jump over to Help, Books Online, and scrolling down. If you want to extract out the year, pass into it either year or YY, YYYY. And you can see the list here. And we're going to be looking at some of those examples. So I'm going to Alt-Tab back. If we wanted to look at the current date time, GetDate gives us the current date time. We want to select out the year. It's 2006. This will go ahead and set Frank's birth date, and then this will look at the year of the birth date, the month, the date, and the day of the week from Guide where birth date's not null, and we just put 1 in. So there's Frank. He was born September 4th, 1958, and that was a Thursday. We got that by using the date name and extracting out the year, the month, the day, and the weekday from the date of birth. A couple more examples. This is the day of the year. It's currently day 338. And today is day 2. Now notice here we looked at the date part instead of the date name. The date name will return January, February, March. The date part returns for month 1, 2, 3. If we had the date name here, it would have returned Monday, but instead it returns 2 because we looked at date part. So that's the difference between date name and date part. To do math with dates, there are several functions, primarily date diff and date add. Date diff gives you the difference between two different dates, depending upon which date part you looked at. So for example, this is my wedding date. And to see how many years I've been married, we're going to look at the difference between my wedding date and today's date. And this will tell us how many days I've been married in wedding bliss. 408 days, a little over 1 year. Another example, if we want to use date add, we're going to add 100 hours to the current date, and that's exactly 100 hours from now. To use this in a real-life query, we're going to jump over to the family database. And this is going to look at the date diff between a person's date of birth and their child's date of birth, basically calculating how old a mother was when the child was born. And this is then a listing of the mothers and the children and how old the mother is when the child is born. So that's using date diff within a query to do some calculations. Because SQL Server does not have a date or a time, but only date time, a common problem when working with queries is how to extract out only the date or only the time. And I've seen some very bizarre methods on how to handle this. Here's my recommended methods on how to do it quickly. If you want to subtract out and return only the date set to a midnight time, this is the fastest way to do it. To extract it out as a string, this is, again, I've tested many different ways. This is the quickest way to get it done. Subtract out the time with seconds and the time without seconds. And that's how to work with date time inside a SQL Server.